Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Complete Sports Media's podcast. I'm your host, Darren Campbell. And of course, joining me on a Monday to do a great weekend wrap up of sports is Jason Cameron, coming to you on a rainy Monday. But what a fantastic weekend of sports. I wasn't minding the rain because there was so many great things to watch in the world of sports. Did you spend as much time as I did watching all the sports that were going on?
I believe I did because it was just a good weekend just to stay indoors. Like the rain was getting rid of the snow that we didn't need anymore because we've had
Right.
enough of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I had a good time just chilling and watching some sports.
Nice. Yeah, I actually think the snow kind of just wore me out. I was so tired. I think I had maybe around 20 naps this weekend. I would be awake for an hour or two and then boom, I have a nap. Wake up for an hour or two, boom, have another nap. Lorraine was feeling the same way. We just seemed to be both exhausted, and I kind of attribute it to the snow and just being so worried about it. Could we get to work? Are we going to work or not? How are we going to travel? All the kind of crazy chaos that happens when it's brutal snow like that.
No, I know. Actually, talking to a mutual friend of ours, Elena, because she had to go to work on the snow day, and I said, "Well, were they good to you, or did they say, oh, you know what, it's coming down pretty hard, so you guys can leave early?" She's like, "Yeah, maybe by like half hour,
Oh,
maybe
geez.
20 minutes."
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, so they really cared about you, cared about your well-being and safety. That's good. Excellent
Yeah.
to hear.
That's not cool. That's not
No,
good to hear.
yeah,
The day Wednesday was the first dump where it was really bad. I had checked the weather reports in the morning, and they just said, stay off the roads if you can. Essential travel only. We just, the days of that first snow are usually chaotic on the roads, and
oh,
so I just thought, no, I'm just gonna play it by ear. I'm gonna check. I'm gonna, check in with work a few times, and a lot of people made it in. It took them a lot longer, but a lot of people made it in. But then they got in the trucks and they started trying to drive around, and it was just no way. So one of the drivers just said, "Hey, I don't think anybody said this, but I'm saying it. This is too dangerous. I don't think we should be on the road, so I'm going home." And he just decided that's it. And he left, and then they just sent all the drivers home. And so I felt good because there was people at work, and I thought, okay, well, I guess I could have made it in, but are the trucks going to be doing anything? Are we really going to be out there trying to pick up stuff? And not one pickup was made all day. They just sent the drivers home. So I felt vindicated, and I felt good in my decision not to go in.
no, that was the right decision because I know when I woke up, I didn't obviously have to work because I'm not doing any landscaping and snow like that. But when I saw the amount of snow, I was like, because there's a lot of snow when there's inches of snow on branches on trees. And
Yeah,
that's when
right.
it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a lot of snow out there. I'm glad I don't have to fight that. And just looking out at my street, all the cars that are usually parked on the street, they're usually gone in the morning because, people go to work.
Yeah.
None of those cars had left, all still there. So
Everyone was there. Oh yeah, that's what I saw. I actually went outside and I cleared off my vehicle, and then I started trying to shovel some area around it so that I could get out. And I
yeah.
was thinking to myself, I this is eerily quiet on the roads. Like I actually didn't hear any traffic on the main road that's close to here, and I
Yeah.
didn't hear any cars going down the main street. And I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I think most people are just staying home, and so yeah, it turned out that that was the best plan of attack and course of action, and so I didn't work Wednesday. Lorraine didn't work Wednesday and Thursday because they closed the schools down. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it just felt like it was so much worry and so much to deal with. We had to go and shovel snow every day. And it's just like, yeah, I think it just wore me out.
No. It very true, because it does wear you out, because you're worried. You're worried about if I'm going to make it to work, and then if I do make it to work, how's it going to be when I go home?
Go
Am I
home,
going to have
yeah.
to deal with other people, because you're going to have to deal with other drivers? Are they going to know what they're going to do? Am I going to hit black eye? All of these things go through your head as you're like thinking about like what the day is going to be like, right?
Yeah.
And then even for me, as I was like looking outside, I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to clear a path for my vehicle at some point in time, because I'm gonna have to get out of there. But there's a caretaker for my apartment.
Right.
She does an excellent job of cleaning out the sidewalks, the walkways, the
Yeah.
pathways, and even the pathways for the cars.
Wow.
Like, so when I went out there to kind of brush off the snow off my car, my pathway was already clean.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh, that's
So
nice. Wow, she goes above and beyond.
yes, she does. Yes,
Oh,
she
that's
does.
good.
That's a great job.
Yeah, Lorraine's the president of her strata, so that's kind of falls on her. And so her and I went and shoveled quite a bit. And then luckily a neighbor came over and he had even a wider, better shovel than we had, and he
Yeah.
really helped a ton. And we cleared pathways for all the units in the whole building. And so yeah,
Nice.
I just thought, let's go way above and beyond and just make sure that everyone's going to be safe and everyone can get out if they need to.
Yeah, no, that's the right approach. Right approach always.
Another funny thing happened too that day. I get a call from my sister, brother-in-law, niece, and nephew, and they're in Hawaii. And they had been here for 3 weeks. They went to Hawaii for about 5 days, 4 or 5 days, and then they were heading back to Australia. And so I get the video call coming in, and they're showing me their view of the beach and and of all the nice area from their hotel suite. And then I said, okay, well, I'll show you what it's like here. And I opened the window and I showed them the snow, and the kids were like, oh, wow, I wish I was there. And I was like, oh, I'd trade you places in a second. It's just, it was like, oh man, I don't want to even go out there. And they were just so bummed out that they missed it by a day or two. And they were in beautiful Hawaii, and we were here in snowy Vancouver. But yeah, it made me laugh a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I can imagine, because you're just like, no, you can take this anytime, and
Yeah,
I'll take what you got going on for you.
yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, well, it was fantastic. Great to see the UFC back. We had the divisional rounds in the football. Amazing. A lot of really great hockey stories. They have this thing every year called Hockey Day in Canada, and all Canadian teams in the NHL play. They end up going to some city in Canada somewhere and really dig into the history of the hockey in that city and how hockey brings the community together. And they went to my hometown. I consider Victoria my hometown, and they were there over the whole weekend. They had a really cool Legends game. They brought a fake ice rink down into the inner harbor. They had tons of festivities going on, and all the players that were born and raised in Victoria, and it was awesome. I couldn't believe how great of a job they did. CBC did and Sportsnet on covering Victoria and showing why it was quite the hockey city. I guess the very first Stanley Cup was awarded there. Victoria won the Stanley Cup way back in 1918 or 20 or something like that. And they had tons of great guys that had grown up there, were born there, raised there. It was just absolutely awesome, and it made me actually appreciate Victoria so much more. I've been away from Victoria for 30 years or so, but it was just nice to see my hometown just being celebrated so much.
No, of course, and that's fantastic. That's a lot of history I didn't know. Like, I had no idea that Victoria at one point in time had an NHL team.
Yeah.
Like, I did not know that.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Yeah. Vancouver won a cup once, the Millionaires they were called. and Victoria won a cup, and yeah, it was cool to watch. Really, really good. Hockey is really starting to get a lot of traction here in BC again. The Canucks are playing so well. They're still first in the NHL. Incredible that they're playing so great. They are playing currently as we speak. Just finished the first period, and they're up 2-0 on the Chicago Blackhawks. They are just chugging along, first in the whole league, and it's just mind blowing. You keep thinking as a longtime Canucks fan, oh, something's gonna happen. The shoe's gonna drop, and they're gonna go on a bad losing streak. All their guys are gonna get hurt. Something's gonna happen. The sky is falling, kind of thoughts, but so far, nothing has happened, and they continue to chug along.
Which is fantastic. And we hope and we pray that that continues because we don't want to see the other shoe fall. You know what I mean? Like we want this to keep going the way it's going because we've suffered. Vancouver Canucks fans have suffered long enough. It's
Yeah.
time to see some wins.
No kidding. Yeah. Yeah. Quinn Hughes got a goal tonight. Andrei Kuzmenko, who's actually been in the doghouse quite a bit this year, has 2 assists tonight. Pius Suter has the other goal for the Canucks, and Thatcher Demko, 9 shots, 9 saves so far. Chicago is struggling this year. They're one of the teams at the bottom. They got the first overall draft pick and drafted Connor Bedard, and everybody had circled this game on the calendar as a must-see game. And I really wanted to go myself, but Connor actually broke his jaw a couple weeks ago. He's out about 6 weeks. So unfortunately, his very first ever game in his home city will have to wait. And yeah, that was disappointing. I decided that I wouldn't buy tickets. Chicago's not a good team. It would have been fun to see the Canucks probably spank them tonight, but I really, really wanted to see Connor in his hometown, in front of his home city, and his family and friends and everything would have been great. But yeah, as I said, he got hurt.
And that's unfortunate. But hopefully next time when he comes around town and he's healthy and can play, that's when you can catch him.
Yeah, let's hope. Other big news in the on the weekend in the world of hockey is Patrick Waugh is back as a coach in the NHL. He's coaching my favorite team, the New York Islanders. One of the greatest goaltenders of all time, 4-time Stanley Cup winner, one of the great personalities in the game. So excited that they've decided to make a coaching change. They've been struggling quite a bit, and they've brought in Patrick. A legendary career. He played 11 seasons in Montreal, 8 seasons in Colorado, and just has so many amazing records way up there. And yeah, I'm thrilled that he's going to be behind the Islanders bench for the rest of this season, and hopefully on and on for many years to come.
You know what? I think that's a good coaching change for the Islanders because he's not going to take any nonsense, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And he's definitely going to hold those players accountable. So I think it's a good change for the Islanders.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. The world of golf was kind of blown away this past weekend. It's only the 3rd event of the PGA season. They had the American Express Championships held in the Coachella Valley, just outside of Palm Springs. And this amateur guy emerged at the top of the leaderboard and was just shooting the lights out. On Saturday, he shot a 12 under 60 and shot up to the top of the leaderboard with a 3-shot lead. He teed off on Sunday with Sam Burns and Justin Thomas, 2 of the best players in the world. And I talked to my dad about it. I talked to a few of my golfing friends, and I said, unfortunately, probably this guy is gonna just choke. He's probably going to feel the pressure. He's a guy in college. He goes to Alabama University. This is only his 2nd year in college, and somehow he got a sponsors exemption, got into the tournament, And so I thought he's playing against these guys, though. Those guys will outdrive him. They'll have prettier shots coming into the greens. He's going to have a hole or two where he doesn't do well and he's probably going to fold. And he didn't. He just kept at it and kept at it and kept at it, and he won. It's the first amateur that has won on the PGA Tour since 1991. Phil Mickelson won as an amateur on the PGA Tour in 91, and it's the first time since then. It is historic, incredible. This guy showed so much poise, and it was just mind-blowing that he pulled it off. His name is Nick Dunlap, and suddenly in the golfing world, he's just become this massive name that just came out of nowhere and just shocked everyone and won this tournament. It was incredible.
Well, you know what? That's awesome for him because he had a roadmap to follow with Phil Mickelson. Because nobody knew who Phil Mickelson was until he did that. Right. So now that Nick Dunlap has done that, that's good foreshadowing for his future in this career of golf. That's for sure.
There was lots of speculation that maybe today, maybe tomorrow, we would hear that he's decided to turn pro. He would have won $1.5 million, and he had to say, no, I can't take this check. And he had to hand it back to them because as an amateur, you're not allowed to make any money, and you have to declare at the beginning of the tournament if you're a pro or you're an amateur. And so that $1.5 million, I'm not sure where that goes. Somebody's gonna have it, but he didn't get it. And so I think him and his family, his friends, his coaches, maybe his teammates, a lot of people are gonna be like, all right, man, I think it's time to turn pro and and start collecting those checks instead of handing them back.
Oh man, that would be so painful. That would be so painful. It's like, unfortunately, I'm still an amateur. I shouldn't have won this, but he did win, right? So hey, hopefully he does go and turn pro because I wouldn't want to be handing back checks anymore. Like that would be the last hand back check.
That would be tough. Yeah. He's 20 years old, 29 days when he won it. So I mean, he's not a kid, but he's young, and I think he definitely wants to get his education, so he might wait. But when you're having to realize that you could have had a $1.5 million if you would have just turned pro 4 days ago, that's got to be just frightening. But God willing, he's gonna have a great long career, and this will just be a laugh that he can have years from now. He better not get hurt. He better not have something happen, his golf game going to hell, but it's incredible when I thought about it that he doesn't get to collect any money as the winner of this tournament.
You know what? I didn't know that. I thought that even if you're an amateur that, because like the chances of you winning the tournament or even coming in the top 5 or 10 is just 0 to none, pretty much, right? Yeah. But the fact that he did win, and because if I'm a pro, I'd be like, oh man, give the kid the money. Jesus, are you kidding me? Come on, man. This guy did the impossible, pretty much.
Amazing, yeah. He's only the 9th amateur all time in the history of golf, which goes back a couple hundred years to do it. Scott Verplank did it twice way back when he was a young guy. So maybe he could do it twice. Maybe he comes from money. Maybe he doesn't need that money right now. But yeah, it was super fun to watch. I couldn't believe he had one hole where he just shanked it completely right into the middle of the lake. It wasn't kind of just on the edge. It wasn't sort of, bouncing in or anything. It was just a straight sideways shank right into the middle. And I thought, okay, this is it. This is where he's falling apart. The wheels are going to fall off his game. But he kept it together right down to the last hole. He took a shot and it went off the right side of the green. And he had quite a long pitch to get it close to the hole. And behind the hole was water again. And I was like, oh man, the guy's going to be like knees knocking. His hands are sweating. Is he going to be able to get it? He shot it beautiful. It bounced a bit, rolled up, 5.9 inches away, and all he had to do was get that putt, and he was going to win. If he misses it, he had a chance to. He would have went into the playoff with the guy, and I was just thinking, oh man, what's running through his head? What's happening? They kept showing his family, his girlfriend, his buddies, all his coaches and everything, and him and his caddy looked at it quite a bit. They walked around, they looked at it, talked a bit, looked around, took a while, and then he finally came up and he sank it and just, yeah, and it was pretty awesome. After last year, seeing that guy Michael Block get that incredible run he was on, he was already a pro on a PGA course, but this was even more spectacular for me. A guy just coming out of the amateur ranks, just a young college kid that just caught lightning in a bottle and had a phenomenal tournament.
Yeah, man. Like it's just kind of like it's like one of those guys that's just like, yeah, I hit the ball around a little bit, decided to go in this tournament. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And then he wins.
Yeah, it was fun to watch, man. I loved it. It was definitely one of my moments, one of my favorite moments I've ever watched. Um, the Toronto Blue Jays signed a Cuban pitcher over the weekend, a guy that's been highly touted. All the Major League Baseball teams were trying to pursue him. They ended up getting him signed 4 years, $32 million. His name is Yariel Rodriguez. And it's great that the Jays were his choice. I hear that the teams in the American League East all around them were pursuing him heavily, as well as the Cincinnati Reds, San Diego Padres. He came very close to signing with the Boston Red Sox, but he ended up choosing Toronto, which is really phenomenal to see. And yeah, nice after some of the other guys have chosen other teams, except for the Blue Jays.
Now, is he a starting pitcher?
No, so far he's a relief pitcher. I'm not sure if they'll turn him into a starting pitcher, but so far he's a relief pitcher.
Relief pitcher? That's good because I know that the Blue Jays needed some more pitching. And
Yep.
then for them to get that shored up is awesome. And the fact that they won him out of all the other teams that were bidding for him, fantastic.
Yeah. I hear he's quite the fireballer. Regularly throws over 100 miles an hour. I got to watch him a little bit in the World Baseball Classic, which I really enjoyed. He was a starter for Team Cuba there in March, and he had a really good run there. Didn't walk any. Oh no, he was able to get quite a few strikeouts and really help Cuba pretty good. I'm not sure if the Jays will try to get him into their starting rotation or not, but yeah, nice to have this arm. The Jays have lost a couple of arms over this offseason, so we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how he fits in, but great news for Blue Jays fans, especially all the people here north of the border that love them. Another pitcher that signed over the weekend, a big deal, was Aroldis Chapman. He signed a 1 year, $10.5 million deal with the Pirates, one of the best closers of all time, and he found a new home there. So great to see. I just want to do a couple of news and notes about the NBA. Did you see what Joel Embiid did today?
Scored 70 points.
70 points.
About 70.
70 points. Yeah, incredible. What an absolutely amazing game. 70 points, 18 rebounds, and 5 assists in a 133-123 victory over the Spurs tonight. That's the highest total in the NBA so far this year. Giannis had 64, I believe. The highest scoring game out of any player this year. And it breaks actually Philadelphia 76ers record as well. Wilt Chamberlain never had 70, which is pretty unbelievable. And yeah, he is really getting a lot closer to that MVP again, having a phenomenal year. He was one of the NBA Players of the Week this week. And yeah, I was blown away when I saw 70 from Joel today.
No, he's been playing absolutely fantastic. He's been playing out of his mind. He's just a scoring machine with extreme efficiency. The only problem is he's missed quite a bit of games. I think it's 11 games out of 42. So, and I believe you have to play 65 games to be considered for the MVP.
Oh yeah.
So
So yeah,
if
he's got to keep
yeah, if he
healthy,
doesn't
right?
play all those games, man, he's got to miss a lot less games to be considered.
Unreal. That was his 21st game scoring 30 or more points. That's incredible. The 76ers were 4-0 over the week. He scored 37.8 points a game, 8.5 rebounds, and 5 assists. And that's the Eastern Conference Player of the Week. The Western Conference Player of the Week was KD, Kevin Durant. 3-0 for the Suns, 31 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 2.3 blocks per game. Both guys are having phenomenal games, phenomenal weeks, and we'll see how how the Joel Embiid watch goes. Yeah, you're right. They brought in that new policy because they didn't want guys to be missing a lot of time. That would be crazy if he fell a little bit shy of that 65 game mark and missed out on the MVP. That would be insane.
Yeah, that would suck for him because he could have gone back to back. Because then it leaves the door open for Joker to get his third, or Giannis or somebody else to step up, or maybe even Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, because unfortunately he wouldn't have played enough games. So hopefully he doesn't miss more games, but I don't know. It doesn't look like it.
Yeah. Speaking of Shea, he's had an MVP-like season. It's phenomenal to watch him. I love watching Oklahoma City. Chet Holmgren is flirting with top rookie honors this year. I'm glad to see Josh Giddey has been I don't know what the word is, but maybe exonerated or things in his personal life have been figured out, and he's playing well. I love watching OKC and especially Shea. Wow, this guy's going to be one of the best players in the league for years and years and years to come.
Yeah, man, he is that good. I don't know if the Clippers would want to redo that trade now in hindsight.
Yeah.
After they give away a guy like that, because they knew. The funny thing is, like, even Doc Rivers said they knew he was good. They didn't know that he would turn into this, like, which is just a freaking monster. But Thunder's awesome. They're fantastic to watch. They got all the pieces, and the fact that they have numerous number one picks, first round picks for eternity still coming up. So, like, it's just, yeah, they're going to be a problem for a long, long, long time, man.
I know. Yeah, it's going to be incredible. Yeah, they seem to be they seem to have done it well, built this team really, really well, and yeah, as long as they can keep a lot of these guys together, look out, they're going to be phenomenal for years. I mentioned Phoenix with Kevin Durant. I saw a note today that said, from opening night to the start of last week, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal have only played a combined 88 minutes so far. I guess that's what you maybe expect in this NBA when you're getting older veteran players and trying to put together super teams. It happened. It's been like that in the LA Clippers. They just can't seem to stay healthy and keep their start together. That must be so frustrating for everyone involved in the Suns organization to not be able to see these three guys perform all together.
Yeah, and especially because I think out of the three, I think Beal's been the one that's been injured the most. Yeah. And the fact that they literally, all of their, like, the cost of the team, like the money that's being given to these three players is tilted all towards them. Yeah. And then you just have, like, literally the rest of the guys. So if those three aren't there, they don't have a chance of, like, being in the top five, like, consistently. Like, those three all have to pay for them to be in the top five of the West.
Yeah. We've reached the halfway point in the NBA season, and one of the things that's standing out to me is how dominant the Celtics have been this year. They have only had one home loss, and they are being starting to become compared to some of the great Celtics teams of the past. The 85-86 Celtics are considered one of the greatest teams of all time, and they went 40-1 at home that year. I don't think I would put a bet on this, but how it's incredible how dominant Boston is at home, and I think they might be able to get close to that all-time record.
I think they might get close to it too. I think the guy that's really turned things around for them defensively and offensively is Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah.
He gives them an element that they've never had before. And then when you add in Drew Holiday along with Derek White as a defensive pairing for point of attack for the guards, that's they're scary. They can play you any way that you want, man. So the Celtics are good, they are stacked, and they are talented.
I think I'm going to put a bet on them right now for the NBA winning the Larry O'Brien. How's anybody going to beat them in a 7-game series? They're going to have home court advantage throughout. And how's anybody going to beat them 4 games at home? How are they going to be able to? Nobody's going to be able to do it as long as they can be this way and keep healthy. I'm giving them the title already.
It's going to be tough. I'm going to say this. It's going to be tough. They've proven it. And then obviously they're going to be able to even turn up their defensive pressure even more so than what they have during the regular season. They're going to be right there at the end. They're definitely, I predict obviously they're going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They're definitely making it that far. And then we'll see what they do for the rest of it. But I think they're definitely making it that far for sure.
Yeah. There's more news and notes of NBA, but we have to kind of get into the meat and bones of this weekend and the NFL and the UFC. I had serious FOMO this weekend. It sometimes rears its ugly head, and I was thinking that we should have some kind of segment where we can get a sponsor for it and we can talk about it every week. Where we would like to be, where would we have liked to be that weekend? And for me, it would have been Toronto for the UFC and then drive down to Buffalo for the Buffalo KC game. And I could have pulled off that double. I should have. I think if I didn't have such a long, extended holiday around Christmas time, I think we would have flown out to Toronto, visit friends, visit family, see the UFC, and then just drove down, see Buffalo, see the Bills play. That KC Bills game was the best game of the weekend, and what a hell of a weekend that would have been.
That would have been great. That would have been fantastic. I actually have a good family friend of mine that lives out there in Ontario, I think near Windsor, and he went to the Lions game.
Nice.
Because he has
Lions game. Oh, the Lions game. Nice.
Yeah. So that would have been the game I would have went to, because I would have wanted to see what it would have been like for long-suffering Lions fans to actually get one, to get to the MSC Championship game. I would have wanted to feel what that felt like after over 50 years, and then people just going, "Yeah, we finally did it."
Yeah.
Like this.
You could have went to both. You could have been to the Detroit game and the Buffalo game. They're just both so close. So, and Windsor's just across the bridge.
Yes.
I've traveled that bridge before, and that would have been phenomenal. And Detroit, just such a long-suffering fan base there. They hadn't won a playoff game since 1957, I believe it was. They had lost 9 straight playoff games. No, maybe it was they hadn't won 2 straight playoff games since 1957. Maybe they had won one in 91. I think they'd only won 1 playoff game since 58. So it was like, holy crap, like this team needs some success, and Dan Campbell's been able to go in there and turn this whole thing around, and just imagine the electricity in that stadium, in that city for that game.
No, yeah, man. And then also too, just for the game, the one thing that I love about what the Lions did in that game, because they were tied,
Yeah.
and then the Lions just said, "Okay, well, that's enough of that. Time to win the game." And then they won, and then they scored two touchdowns
Yeah.
straight,
Yeah.
and then that's what cemented the game for them. And I
Okay.
was, I was so happy for them because it's just like that man cried for a reason. This is it. This is the payoff.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely correct when he says the team is built on grit and grind, and that's what they've done throughout the course of this season.
Yeah.
And that's what they showed. They showed their toughness, and they showed that yes, we have now gotten to a point where we can elevate our play and we can put teams away.
Yeah. Yeah, that team sort of resembles the type of people that come from Detroit. It's a tough town, being such the automotive capital, and they go through a lot in Detroit, and those the team and the players on that team really resemble the regular guys that grow up there and live in Detroit. I'm wearing a UFC 129 shirt to sort of pay homage to UFC Toronto. One of the greatest events of all time in UFC history was held at the Sky Dome, and 60 something thousand were there. George St. Pierre, incredible moment and crowd. I was at the last UFC in Toronto in 2018, around Christmas time 2018. And man, I can't believe it's been like 5 long years since they had the UFC there. But so great that it came back north of the border after such a great event here in Vancouver in June. They were able to get the UFC back up here north of the border. Not the best numbered event I've ever seen in the UFC's history, but glad that they're coming back north of the border quite frequently now.
Yeah, me too. Obviously, I think COVID kind of put a snag on things, put a hold on things. But now that we're getting back to our regular scheduled program, I'm glad that they're coming up here more and more often. So
Yeah.
it's good.
Because the UFC was in Toronto, the Canucks hosted the Leafs here, and it was an early game. A lot of Vancouver fans kind of get mad that their game on Saturday ends up shifting to the early time slot instead of a 7 o'clock puck drop normal. A lot of people get mad about it, but I think it's good. It was great to see massive amount of Leaf fans there. And the Canucks immediately went up 3-0 and beat the crap out of them in that first period. It looked great. Leafs came out in the second period and scored 3 quick goals, tied it up. Now the Leafs chants were happening throughout the stadium. Then the Canucks put it back on them, ended up winning the game 6-4 and silencing those Leaf fans. They had to leave with their tail between their legs. And it was a great Saturday night here. And then it was fun to watch the UFC in Toronto right after the Canucks game.
Yeah, no, that's a great setup. It's a great setup because the Canucks really put it on the Leafs. Told them again, it's like you're not the center of the universe. Well, at least not today. We are.
Yeah,
We are.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, so let's get into the NFL. Over the weekend, we had 4 games, 4 great matchups that all of us were really excited about. Why don't we go in order of how they played them? We'll start with the Baltimore-Houston game. Lamar Jackson really proved again that all 31 teams that didn't go after him this offseason really made a massive mistake. And he was able to really put a beating on Houston after it was tied 10-10 at halftime, 24 straight points. Baltimore won 34-10. Lamar is definitely one of the main reasons why they won, but that defense is formidable and starting to resemble some of the Ravens defense of yesteryear when they won the Super Bowl. And to be able to only allow 3 points in a football game against a very good Houston team, absolutely incredible performance. And And to me, they're the front runners to win the Super Bowl this year now.
Oh yeah, man. Like the Ravens D is no joke. The only touchdown the Texans had was Sims with an amazing 67-yard punt return for a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then that was it. And Stroud did his best, but he was just like, there's nobody open. There's nobody open. It's like he did what he could, but that defense just shut him down. And I knew that the Ravens defense was going to be a problem because in the regular season, what they did to the 49ers.
Right.
And so when you see what they did to the 49ers, I'm sorry, man, but the Texans, you don't even have all your weapons, so you don't really have much of a shot. And they showed it. They showed it.
Yeah.
So
I was happy that it was so close at halftime, but obviously Harbaugh, Jackson, all the Ravens coaching staff went in, made a great change to their game plan. Their running attack was phenomenal and has been all year as well. And that to me is going to really help this team beat most teams if they can have these sustained long drives and keep the opposing defense on the field for so long. Lamar's legs are incredible. He can find his weapons, and they're just going to chug up and get a lot of points and help their defense stay off the field being fresh.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Like just this Lamar is just his efficiency that he had. 16 to 22, 152 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then, then he was also the best rusher. 11 carries, 100 yards, another 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, what are you going to do with that? It's like, okay, so we're going to try to keep him in the pocket, make him a pocket passer. Then he's going to dice you up. Okay, then we're going to blitz him. Then he's going to run all over you.
Yeah.
So, good luck.
There's always that debate. Is it going to be rust versus rest? 20 days since his last start. They sat him at the last game of the season. Then they had their bye. And there was a bit of worry there. Maybe, he won't have that consistency, won't be sharp. And maybe that first half, maybe he wasn't, but came out in that second half, was able to find his weapons. 100 yards rushing for a quarterback is phenomenal. And, obviously that rest helped in the end, and they were able to get the big one.
Yeah, I think the rest always helps. It's a long season, man. So if you can rest your guys who are going to be dinged up anyways, because everybody is, I would always err on the side of let them have some rest. You know what? Because these guys are professionals, or they're the best of the best. They're Pro Bowlers, as Lamar is, or possibly the MVP of the league. So he knows what he's doing. Yeah. You got to trust in your guys.
Will this team, if they win the Super Bowl, will they their defense be as revered as some of those amazing, legendary defenses they've had in the past where they've won the Super Bowl?
They will be, but it's going to be hard to be in the upper echelons of some of those defenses, especially with the ones that were headed by Ed Reed and Ray Lewis. Like, come on, man, that's Ed Reed and Ray Lewis. You know what I mean? So that's going to be kind of hard to match that, but they're going to be right up there.
Can you believe it's been over 10 years since that team won the Super Bowl? 2013 was the last year. They won the Super Bowl in 2001, 12-year wait. Then they won in 2013. It's going to be 11 years if they can pull it off again.
Yeah, and it's amazing how much time has flown by, because it doesn't seem like it was that long ago when they did win. So if they are able to pull it off again, I guess it's right on time for them. They just do it every decade.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. We've got 2 number 1 seeds that advanced. We've got the defending Super Bowl champion, and we've got the Detroit Lions. So this is kind of crazy. Amazing that these 4 teams are left. And I think, in my opinion, if you're a gambling person, put some money down on Baltimore. Really, really, really good chance that they're winning the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah. The only problem is they just got to get through Mahomes. That's it. Yeah. Only that problem. Little problem.
Yeah. The defending Super Bowl champion and Mahomes. Yeah. So that game's going to be phenomenal. Can't wait for it. It's It's going to be great. But let's talk about the other game that was on Saturday as well. 49ers and the Packers. This was a very, very tight game throughout. And a lot of people did not expect the Packers to be able to hang with the 49ers as long as they did. I've heard a lot of people today and over the weekend talk that they were disappointed with Brock Purdy's performance and said he didn't really do enough to really get some separation and easily win like they were expecting. He was 6 for 7 on that final drive that got the winning touchdown, so pretty impressive there. And he was missing Deebo Samuel, who in the 3 games that he missed earlier in the season, they went on a 3-game losing streak. And Trent, other than Trent Williams, those 2 guys missing seemed to really change the whole dynamic of the 49ers. Deebo was hurt, with a shoulder injury, and it really seemed to disrupt the 49ers, but they did get the win 24-21 and do advance again.
Yeah, it did. Like when you're missing an offensive weapon like that, it's going to affect what you do scheme wise. But they still got other studs that stepped up, and the one guy that really stepped up for the 49ers was Mr. McCaffrey.
Yeah.
He was instrumental. He was incredible. He was awesome. 17 carries, 98 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was everything that they needed to get that win.
Yeah, he's always phenomenal. How much should we put the blame on Anders Carlson for missing the 41-yard field goal? If he gets it, this looks like this game's headed for overtime. Should he take so much blame, or do you say that the Packers should have been able to score more points and not even having to come down to that field goal?
Yeah. You know what? For me, it's just the fact that the Packers were in this game and they almost won it was enough, to be honest with you, because I still believe that the Packers were outmatched talent-wise,
Sure.
For 49ers for the Packers. But just the fact that they were in this game the way that they were, the fact that they're just so incredibly young across the board, and they're able to do this already right now, that just, okay, your future is going to be super bright. It's awesome. You guys are going to be great going forward because you're already doing this now against one of the best teams in the NFL. So I personally think Green Bay Packers, you lost to the 49ers. Yes, it's disappointing, but this is still a win, a hell of a season, and it's a win. Yeah. It's a win for
you. There was a graphic that came on partway through this game and said there's been, I believe there was 5 lead changes at that time, and it said in this game there's been 5 lead changes. So far in the postseason, the total there had been 0. So I was like, holy crap, this is unbelievable. And so it definitely was going back and forth. And Love looked good. Aaron Jones looked really good. And this team was hanging with the 49ers. And you were like, wow, they could pull this off. Unfortunately, Love's 2 picks really were a difference, in my opinion. And I think he forced a couple of those. And he started to resemble the gunslinger that Brett Favre used to be in Green Bay, sometimes trying to force the pass, and I think he'll learn from this, and I think he'll be a lot better going forward.
Yeah, and the guy that capitalized on him trying to force those passes in was Dre Greenlaw with both those interceptions.
Yeah.
And so you saw that he was pushing, where I don't think he necessarily needed to push like that because it's such a close game. Any sort of mistakes, that's the difference in the game. And that was the difference in the game. He had those 2 mistakes, and Purdy made none.
Aaron Jones had his 5th straight game with over 100+ rushing yards. That's actually the longest streak in Green Bay Packers history. Isn't that incredible?
Oh, that's nuts to think about that. Think about their long tradition. Wow.
Amazing. Yeah, they've had such great quarterbacks, but not the running backs. And I know Aaron Jones, has been the guy there. He's had a few injury troubles over the last little while, but what an incredible finish to his season. and he was definitely one of the key reasons why this team made it this far. I think you can hold your head up high if you're that Packers organization. I think they surprised everyone this year, did a lot better than most people expected, and going through this drive into the playoffs and winning a little bit, I think it really bodes well for Packers to get back to respectability and making the playoff consistently and probably challenging for a championship in a few seasons here.
Yeah, yeah. Like their future is bright, man. Like just the fact that I would say that they're way ahead of schedule right now
Yeah.
because of like what they've done here. Like, yeah, they're going to be good for a while.
You're right. Okay, let's talk about the first game of the day on Sunday. We had the Bucks and the Lions. As you mentioned, man, it would have been amazing to be there in Detroit at this game. Incredible, and I was impressed. I'm blown away by this Detroit team. They have been just a terrible organization my entire life, and it's incredible to see how they've turned this thing around and made believers out of everyone. Taken a quarterback off a scrap heap, and he's been able to be very, very dominant. Craig Reynolds got a touchdown. Josh Reynolds got a touchdown. The Derek Barnes interception off Baker Mayfield with just a 133 left finally sealed it, gave them the ability to go to the NFC Championship game. And I mentioned earlier, it's two number one seeds and the defending Super Bowl champion and the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions, can they pull off an upset? Can they beat the 49ers in this game coming up this weekend?
Yeah, they can do it.
Yeah.
They can do it. They have the momentum on their side. They got Detroit behind them. They got Mr. 8 Mile Goff playing his ass off. Like, yeah, man, they can do it. They have the ability to pull this off. I think this is going to be a very, very close game, especially if the 49ers are still going to be missing Deebo Samuel, because we don't know if he's going to be able to even play in this game. So, yeah.
They were saying Deebo's like 50-50 that he can make it back. So, and even if he does, I think he'll be limited. He probably won't be 100%. So, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a great running back, and I think he's going to be able to be in step with CMC, and I think providing them the great running out of the backfield as well as catching. Amon-Ra St. Brown, man, this guy's good. Holy cow, he's such a beast when it comes to getting after the ball. He just steals it away from safeties, cornerbacks, and he just makes sure that he's coming down with it when it's thrown his way.
Yeah, he's a big game player. He's big time. Those big moments, you can count on him. And the Lions are just, it's almost, you can feel it. You can feel the fact that it's like, this is their time. This is their moment. But they got a real tough test ahead of them with the 49ers.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible and super tough. But I'm actually very excited about this game now. I would love it if Detroit somehow pulled off this miracle and were able to make the Super Bowl. It would just be mind blowing. And I was really hoping Buffalo and Detroit would advance this far, maybe be able to end, the futility of these franchises. Finally, one of them winning a Super Bowl. It would have been such a storybook part of this NFL season.
It would have been. It would have been. But unfortunately, the Bills, that their nemesis, they ran into their nemesis in Mahomes. So, yeah.
Let's talk about that game. Definitely the game of the weekend. We thought maybe because Buffalo was finally going to be hosting this game, maybe that gave them the little bit of the advantage and gave them the ability to, get rid of that beast that's been holding them back. Uh, two out of the last 3 years, Kansas City has knocked Buffalo off and made it to the Super Bowl. And Patrick Mahomes, 6 years in the NFL, 6 straight conference championships. What an incredible run. You sent me an amazing Instagram over the weekend that blew me away. The when you look at the statistics, it looks like if you just didn't know the score, you would say, okay, Buffalo's got this victory. But
Yeah.
somehow Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, and this Chiefs team are able to, even though they didn't play better than the Bills, they were able to still get the victory.
Yeah, like I think from that what I sent you through the Instagram, they were outdone in pretty much every statistical category. And you know what? It doesn't matter because you got Patrick Mahomes. That's it. Like I'm sorry to say this, and Allen, by the way, played a magnificent game.
Oh yeah,
He played incredibly well. 26 to 39, 186 yards, 1 touchdown, 12 carries, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns. He played an awesome game. He took his shots down the field. Unfortunately, Sherfield missed his shot, and then Diggs missed his shot.
yeah.
They were perfectly throwing balls, and man, does that guy have a cannon for an arm. You forget about that sometimes.
Yeah.
And so Allen played his ass off, but it seems to me right now that it's almost like, and I'm sorry, Bills fans, I'm going to say it, it's like the Jim Kelly effect, except you can't even make it to the Super Bowl because you keep running into the guy that makes it to the Super Bowl, which is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it's reminding me a bit of Brady versus Manning, and how many times Manning had an opportunity to try to go and get a Super Bowl and just kept coming up against Brady and the Patriots and kept getting swept aside. He finally had to, hope there was a down year in the Patriots and Brady and get it. And unfortunately for Josh Allen, he has to keep going up against that Patrick Mahomes guy, and Mahomes keeps getting his number in the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's not an indictment against you when you consistently lose against the best quarterback in the game.
Yeah.
All right? Yeah. Like that's not on you. It's unfortunate. He's just better. Like it's just one of those things. It's like whenever Manning had to play against Brady, it's like Manning don't want to say that. Better. His team's better. He's better. Yeah. He's getting my number. Eventually he did get him a couple times, and maybe that's what's going to happen with Allen. But the majority of the times, it looks like Mahomes just going to get you.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it? Yeah. The time of possession, Buffalo had 37. Kansas City had 23. Yardage, 300 and what did he have? Oh, yeah, I mean, they had more rushing yards, they had more first downs, 27 to 21 first downs. Total plays 78 to 47. Just on and on and on. But KC played a really, really perfect game. They only had 2 penalties in the entire game, only 1 punt, and they were just better. The only mistake that they seemed to make was when, for some reason, down on the 1-yard line, they handed off to McCole Hardman, who fumbled it through the end zone and gave Buffalo another opportunity. I don't know why Andy Reid called that play. Don't know why McCole Hardman, who hasn't really been part of the offense, that was his one and only touch of the day, hadn't been really part of the offense much of this season at all. Why it wasn't going to Pacheco or Clyde Edwards-Helaire escapes me. He's very lucky that didn't blow up and cause them to lose this game.
Because it very well could have. Like that, if that was going to be the turning point, it was right there. And that was the Bills' chance, and they couldn't capitalize on that either.
Yeah.
They couldn't capitalize on that either. So, because I believe it was their kicker eventually who had the chance to tie the game. Tyler Bass, 44-yard field goal, wide right, kind of reminiscent of, I believe it was Scott Norwood wide right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then and then that would give other Bills fans, it's like, that's nightmares. It's like, no, not wide right.
Yeah.
Anything but that.
Yeah. 1991 goes back. Scott
Yeah.
Norwood kicked it wide right, lost the Super Bowl. Brutal. I'm sure it gave a lot of older Bills fans total nightmares, PTSD, hearing that wide right again. And it wasn't for the Super Bowl, but it could have given them an opportunity at overtime and the possibility of winning that game and going to the Super Bowl.
Exactly, right. And the Bills they were on a roll.
No.
They're on a roll. Actually, most of the time they're always on a roll until they hit this team, the
Yeah.
Chiefs.
Yeah.
And then the roll stops right there.
I was very disappointed in Stephon Diggs. What happened to him? How did they shut him down? He didn't do much of anything.
Well, he had his shot. He had his shot for that big game play, and that's a catch that he normally makes, whiffed on it.
Yeah.
And that's where they needed him.
Yeah.
That's right there. You're a big game receiver. You always complain about you're not getting the ball in these tight positions, in these situations. That was your moment. That was your chance. You did not show up. So that's on you.
The one that he missed, I don't know, he just seemed to put his hands in the wrong spot. It was like his hands are here and the ball's over here. I was like, what the heck was that? That was weird. He's not normally known for, missing it that badly. And you're right. He does complain a lot, saying that the ball's not thrown to him enough and he wants to be the difference maker. That there was key. That Trent Sherfield catch that I thought he made, I was like, wow, what a catch. And then as soon as they showed the replay, you saw that it wasn't. But man, that was an opportunity there. Josh Allen was throwing it, long, really nice throws and giving his, receivers a chance, and they let him down.
Yeah, no, they did let him down. Like, as much as they made some catches, obviously, to keep this game close, there was catches that could have been made that could have won them the game.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between when the teams are this good. And that's the difference. That's the difference. The one thing I do want to say, though, Travis Kelce looked like the old Travis Kelce Bowl. 5 receptions, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he had his biggest cheerleader, the biggest cheerleader I've ever seen. His brother was up in the VIP suite, just like he was the hype man. Like, it was awesome to see him out there.
Tarps off and chugging beers. And that was hilarious. I loved it. Yeah. First week of his retirement, and he's out there supporting his bro and no shirt on in the cold weather and chugging beers with the fans. That was hilarious.
No, that was just awesome. That was awesome. I'm glad that he was able to get over that horrible Eagles loss, because it was pretty brutal. But to come back and just cheer on his brother the way he did, that's good family.
Yeah, that was great. Of course they showed the Taylor Swift as many times as they could throughout. But great to see Travis Kelce. They became him and Patrick Mahomes became the most prolific touchdown duo in playoff history. They were able to get one more than Gronk and Brady, and 3 more than Montana and Rice. It's amazing when you see where they have reached and become, and they're still not done. I think Kelce's probably still got a year or 2 left in him. They could push this record pretty far out there.
And also, too, if you think about it, the amount of time that they did it in a shorter amount of time than both of those guys ever did. And which is the more amazing thing, because you're talking about Brady and Gronkowski, and they've already eclipsed them already. It's like, you guys had your moment of sun. You're done now. Thanks.
Yeah. A lot of people until he does stuff like this, they forget that he's maybe the greatest tight end of all time.
Yeah, exactly. Because right now, if you're looking at the greatest tight ends of all time, and you talk to other great tight ends, they talk about Kelce and Gronkowski are right there at 1 and 2. Yeah. And that's actually even coming from Shannon Sharp's mouth, where he's just like, it's probably you two guys are 1 and 2 or 2 and 1, whatever you want to go. So yeah.
It's amazing, and yeah, what a hell of a career, and yeah, I think those guys' podcast is going to be through the roof. It's going to make them an incredible amount of money, and then him and Taylor Swift, if that continues, what a life these guys are going to be leading heading into retirement.
Well, first off, like whenever Travis decides to retire and hopefully still with Taylor, he can be like, "Well, honey, you're making the money now. I'm retired. I'm going to be the trophy husband because I am." And then that's it. We're good.
That's funny. Yeah, it's probably gonna have that conversation. I wish we could be a fly on the wall for that conversation. It'll be funny to see. Maybe they'll do it on the podcast.
Oh man, I hope they do. I hope they do. Like, where he'll go to Jason's like, "So what are you doing, Jason?" And Jason will try to answer, be like, "I don't care what you're doing. This is what I'm doing. Nothing. I'm not doing nothing anymore."
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, just tour around with Taylor. That's all I got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got 2 games coming up next Sunday. We've got the Ravens hosting the Chiefs and the 49ers hosting the Lions. First game goes at noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern. Second game, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. Yeah, what are your predictions? Who do you think's coming out of this and heading to the Super Bowl?
My mind says I want to say Ravens and the Niners, but my heart actually wants the Lions in there in their first Super Bowl. So I'm gonna go with Ravens and the Lions, okay. And I'm gonna do that because then I know I'm going against the defending champs, and you should never bet against Mahomes because that's usually I lost my money again. But at the same time, man, I really feel that this is Lamar's moment. Yeah. This is his moment. This is his time. And he's been doubted. Everybody looks at his playoff performances and says he just doesn't have it. I think this time around it's like, no, actually I do. I always have. It's just sometimes it's luck of the draw. But this time luck is on my side. So I think I'm gonna go with Ravens and Lions.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I can't wait for it. It's going to be great. I think both games should be really tight, really close, and very exciting. We'll see if the Lions can pull off a big upset. Yeah, and we'll see if this is the end of Mahomes' reign heading to the Super Bowl. But yeah, all 4 teams I think deserve to be there. Really had phenomenal years, and this to me is the 4 best teams that really should be representing the NFL very well, and I think we're going to talk about this weekend for years to come because I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, me too. I think it's going to be down to the wire type games, both of these games, and I really do hope so because nobody wants to see no blowout. I don't want to see no blowout. I want to see a close, hotly contested games, and hopefully these games are going to provide that.
Yeah. Okay, that's the NFL story for now. So let's turn to the UFC. We had UFC 297 from Scotiabank Arena, Toronto, Ontario. Dana White said the gate was 10.5 million Canadian, about 8 million US, highest in arena history. Sold out 18,550, and yeah, an incredible crowd there cheering on their Canadians. Unfortunately, the only Canadians that won were female. 9 Canadian fighters, and only 2 wins. 0-7 for the males. Really, really, really a complete opposite to what happened here in Vancouver in June, and it was tough. It was tough. I think it sucked the life out of the arena in a way because they just didn't have that momentum and that constantly getting to cheer the hometown or the home country athletes on, and it I think harmed and didn't deliver as great of a card that I think could have been delivered if we would have saw a little more success with the Canadians.
Yeah, No, I agree with you on that. And also, too, the other thing that I think added to it was the fact that there wasn't a lot of stoppages on this particular card. So the card ran late,
Yeah.
later than any other card that I can remember, because I think by the time it was all said and done, it was like 10:40.
Yeah. Well, 1:40 in the morning out there.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
right? So
1:40 in the morning, so it's 20 to
yeah,
2. I heard reporters say that Dricus du Plessis didn't actually sit down in the press conference until 3:15 in the morning.
yeah, there you
So
go,
they,
right? Like
if
that's a long.
if a guy has a job to do and he's there to get the main event winners get quotes, he's got to be there till 4 in the morning. Brutal,
Brutal.
way too brutal. And I actually had a conversation with my dad about it over the weekend because we were trying to figure out how were we going to watch the NFL, how are we going to watch the UFC.
Yeah,
I was trying to watch the hockey and the golf as well and stuff, and he was like, "I'm not sure if I should record this and watch that, or vice versa."
yeah,
And I said, "Well, I can go through football really quickly because you can just do a 30-second jump, see the
yeah, yeah,
next play, 30-second jump, see the next play." So I typically want to watch the UFC live,
yeah,
but my dad gets really, really frustrated with all the stuff in between fights, and they'll just drag out a whole card for 5, 6, 7 hours.
yeah,
Where, if you just watch the fights, it's only a couple hours, if that.
yeah,
And I said, well, the way the UFC has been for so many years is they try to fit it in between that 5 and 10, and so that 5 hours, you got 2 hours of prelims, 3 hours of main card. And
yeah.
so they try to figure it out. And if there's too many
This,
full fights, too many decisions, it can possibly run later. And there was some early cases of pay-per-views that didn't people didn't actually get to see the end. The
and yeah,
pay-per-view
you cut
ended
off.
and
Yeah,
it cut off for the main event. And then they were just super mad. Like, I paid you money and you're not going to show me the end of this. So there's been some changes there, but yeah, this one was one of the longest ones I remember on a pay-per-view night, being pushing in like 45 minutes past the normal finish time. That was kind of crazy.
yeah, it was crazy. And then also too, so because I believe it dragged too as well, you could see the energy kind of deflate from the crowd because the crowd is just like, it's late,
Yeah.
like this we're still going here. And the other thing that I didn't like, how
The
many split
Comey?
decisions were there?
Yeah.
That was
Split
like
decisions were crazy. Yeah. It was just
four.
almost every
Like that
fight had a
that
split,
might be the
didn't it?
most I can remember.
Yeah,
Four.
no. That was weird. Yeah, that seemed like it was crazy weird judging, and I did
Yeah.
not like how many split decisions. Like, I don't know how often they were not on the same page. It was weird. You'd see the scorecards, and two judges went for one guy this round, and then they would reverse it, and they just didn't seem like they were on the same page all night long. So
Yeah.
that seemed very bizarre to me. And the co-main event was a complete snooze fest. It
Oh,
was so
oh,
painful and brutal. Like, I
oh.
just couldn't believe it. I was like, these two are fighting for the belt here? These two? Like, what the hell's going on? That was brutal. And I think you texted me, finally it's over. And
Yes.
I didn't know what you were referring to. And then you sort of backed it up with, whoa, man, that was horrible. And I
Yeah.
was just like, oh God, like, why the hell are these two girls supposed to be the best in this women's bantamweight division when they just really, really didn't seem to have any fire, any energy, and it just showed a lack of excitement throughout that whole 5 round fight.
Yeah, and also too, like Raquel Pennington didn't even listen to her coaches.
No.
Create distance and keep striking. You're hurting her. Yeah, I'm gonna grapple up against the cage every time. Like every time that she kind of had like an advantage, she would grapple up, and the coach was like, "What are you
What are
doing?
you
Like,
doing? Yeah.
what are you
Yeah.
doing?" Right? Like I believe she probably could have ended that fight a lot earlier. if she had listened to her coaches.
Yeah.
And the other thing is with Bueno Silva, that's embarrassing where you can't get up off the mat and you just lay there in a title fight.
Yeah.
You freaking kidding me? Are
Yeah.
you kidding me right now? I thought right there, I'm like, that's an embarrassment. You can't fight for the belt again because you clearly don't even have the stamina to fight for the belt.
No.
I was pissed.
Yeah, it was ridiculous and it was a joke. Raquel Pennington's actually known for that. She doesn't listen to her coaches. I would be so frustrated and angry if I was a coach of hers. You know, you're only trying to give her the best opportunity from what you see and how to win. She didn't listen. She hasn't listened almost every fight I've ever watched from her. She just decides to clinch and you know, fights that style. It wasn't going to work in this fight, you know, the way she was going, and then all of a sudden Silva just got gassed, and then there was just nothing coming back. So you know, she won, but it was almost by default. I was not impressed with either one of them. This really shows that when Amanda Nunes retired, this division didn't have a lot to offer. Unfortunately, Juliana Pena was supposed to be in this fight, and you know, maybe would have been able to get a early quick finish and would have made it a lot better. I think Rocky will fight her next, and I think Pena just dominates, wins the belt, and then I've heard that. I mean, I actually saw Amanda Nunes have an interview, and she sort of hinted that maybe she's thinking of coming back from retirement. So maybe that's the case, and we'll be able to get a real proper title fight next.
You know what? Because Juliana Pena talked all that garbage when it was actually Amanda Nunes' moment. That's where you're supposed to be graceful and let her have her moment because she's retiring. Maybe she goes, you know what? I'll let her go back. I'll let her fight Rocky. I'll let her win. Then I'm going to come back and smash her into the ground.
Yeah, maybe.
If I was her, that's what I would do. And then I would retire. Just be like, I'm good. Thanks.
See ya. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that was tough. I didn't like it as a co-main event right off the bat. I didn't think either one of them were exciting enough to move the needle and make me excited for this. They just kind of put it together because it was vacant. You know, we got to get two fighters in there. When Pena got hurt, I think it really put a big damper on the plans that the UFC had, and they kind of threw in two girls. I don't think either one of them is championship worthy, and so you know, I hate that when I see a belt wrapped around a waist of a fighter that doesn't really seem like a champion. It's a kind of a dark period of time in that division's history.
Yeah. And it's going to be. You know what? We knew this was going to happen. Once Nunes says, I'm done, it's like, wow, she literally cleared out the division and she was just going to keep doing that for, I don't know, forever. Yeah. So who was she supposed to fight? It's like, oh, it's going to be Julia Pena, who she already beat up. Great. So she's going to do that again. So, like, for me, I looked at this. I remember just looking at that fight and being like, who cares? I'm sorry. No. I really actually mean that. Who cares? But great for Pennington. She's a champ. She's going to make some money. It's going to be great. Hopefully she can hold on to the belt for a little bit, like for like a couple months until she fights Pena. Awesome. Yeah. Great.
Definitely. Pennington, you know, you got to be happy for her. She's had a long career. She's had lots of ups and downs. She becomes the fifth ever fighter from the Ultimate Fighter to win a belt. So, you know, going back years and years and years, her and many of the, you know, legends of the sport came from that Ultimate Fighter back in the early days. And amazing that she's finally been able to, you know, achieve that. I don't think she'll be champion for long. Either Nunes or Pena will take the belt from her, I think, quite easily. And she'll at least be able to always call herself a champion.
Exactly. And then, you know what? Nobody will ever be able to take that away from her. So congratulations to her.
one thing that made me very happy about that night was Sean Strickland's short reign at the top of the middleweight division is over. He was just horrible the entire week, saying so many cringeworthy things, really attacking so many aspects of Canada, of yeah, just it was just brutal, and I'm glad that Dricus came in and was able to take the belt from him. This was a hell of a good fight, though.
Yes.
It was razor thin, and it could have went either way in the decision. I thought I had it scored 48-47 for Dricus. I thought after that first round, he was able to win those middle rounds and was able to be able to figure him out. That jab was unbelievably brutal that Strickland was just nailing him with. But I think Strickland kind of became one-dimensional and just only was throwing that damage. And Dricus was able to get some takedowns, was able to get some hard shots, some hooks, some great, just different to his game. I thought, unfortunately, Strickland, for him, he just had so much success with that jab, and he just kept peppering it into his face. Dricus looked terrible at the end of it, but I think that he won 3 rounds and Strickland won 2, and I think it was a just result when the judges read their scorecards.
Yeah, I will say this: Dracus had to earn every round of that fight, because if there's one thing I did notice, they fought in the middle of the octagon pretty much all 5 rounds.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen too often. But when it does, that means both men aren't willing to back up.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, because that makes for a great fight. Dracus wore his damage like a badge of honor, because he got peppered a ton. But he had more diversity of strikes in his attack, which I think was the difference. And also, too, strategically, because he even said this post-fight, they worked on doing those takedowns at the end of rounds.
Yeah.
So they had those scores. And I thought that, since it was so close, that was the difference.
Yeah.
I gave Sean Strickland a ton of credit, though, because he never did accept the position. He didn't stay on the mat for long, but it was long enough.
Right.
Long enough.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, that was the difference as well. The striking was quite even in many of the rounds. And then late, he would get a takedown and just seem to put the shift onto him and giving him those 10-9 rounds. I thought he definitely won those middle 3. His left eye was just brutally swollen. His underneath, over top, he was getting really beat up by that jab. One of the most lethal jabs you're ever gonna see. I just think Strickland needed to use that same approach that he had against Adesanya and put together some combinations, push him up against the cage some, and do some dirty boxing. I just think that Dricus was on the front foot a lot more, and Strickland was on the back foot with that jab. And I just didn't see him, displaying that same style that he had displayed in his lead up to winning the belt and getting it off Adesanya. I just didn't think it was the same Strickland that we saw when he won the belt.
Yeah, and I think it's because Dracus didn't allow him to be that same Strickland. Didn't allow him to go forward, because he pushed forward. He leapt in with his hooks, and he attacked him with high kicks to the head and stuff like that. He didn't allow him to get pushed around. And then also, too, when he got over aggressive, Strickland, that's when Dracus shot and took him down. So I thought that Dracus' game plan was really good for against Strickland. And unfortunately for Strickland, I think he should have let his hands go a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because he was jabbing and jabbing and jabbing, and obviously it was working. But sometimes you got to have more than a jab. Jab, cross, like uppercut. Like, you got to put your hands together, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah, he just didn't vary his strikes enough for my, in my opinion and for my liking. And, it just, unfortunately for him, he is no longer the champ. I think this could be a great run for Dricus. after he beat Robert Whitaker, I really started seeing him in a different light and thinking, okay, this guy is actually pretty legit. He had that nose surgery that he
Yep.
needed to suddenly breathe properly. Everybody always talked about him gassing, and they weren't sure that he could be good in the 4th and 5th round because he hadn't had a lot of fights that went that long. But I think getting that surgery, getting that big victory over Whitaker, and coming in and winning this, I think his confidence is going to shoot sky high. I don't know where Adesanya is sitting now. He talked about taking quite a bit of time away from the octagon. So
Yeah.
where do we see it if Adesanya is not the guy coming next? Where does he go from here?
If Adesanya, and I seriously believe this, I don't think he's coming back this year. And if he does, it will be like at the end of this year. I think he's adamant about taking some time off. So I think that's exactly what he's going to do. So now you're looking at Cannonier, Whitaker, one of those kind of guys going forward to fight against Dracus. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure it's not going to be Adesanya. It's just not going to be him.
Do you think Khamzat Chimaev can get into the mix? Do you think they would give him would they give him a shot at the belt?
Yeah, I think so. They're pretty high on him and stuff. By the way, just a quick aside, I found it incredibly funny that Dana White actually had Strickland winning that fight.
Yeah.
I found that hilarious because I'm like, didn't you want him to lose, Dana? Like, I couldn't believe he said that because I'm like, you don't like that guy, do you? Or is that because he represents the UFC so well? That's why you wanted to stay champion? Like, I was like, that surprised me.
Yeah.
I just want to say that. That surprised me.
Yeah.
But Chimaev, yeah, I could see them making that. I could see them making that fight because Drake is obviously with all that damage, he's going to have a couple of months off before he even considers another title fight, which would probably happen. What would you say? Maybe the end of summer, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking more maybe May, June or something like that. Maybe. He had the damage on his face. He also was limping very badly as he was coming out of the cage. I don't know what kind of damage is done to his leg. I don't know if it was just sore or there was actually some physical damage that might require surgery or anything like that because he was barely able to walk as he was coming out of the cage.
That's right. I did notice that too. And then I was trying to think, like, what could he have been hit with? Because I don't remember Strickland really throwing too many leg kicks.
No.
He threw some, but not
Yeah,
that many. So.
not very many, Yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully he heals up well. And the first fighter to ever win out of South Africa. This maybe makes the UFC start looking at South Africa and putting an event there. This would be historic and amazing. And there have been some other African champions, but first one out of South Africa. I think this will maybe open up new doors for the UFC, and this could be something historic and something really incredible. I hope they are put something together for this year, maybe later in the year, and we get to see how the fans will respond in South Africa for a champion.
You know what? They should always do that because, like, every time they have a champion from a new country, that's their opportunity to open doors into said country. Yeah. So they should capitalize on that. I think it's kind of like that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
He should have his next fight in South Africa, give it to him, right? So that then you grow your brand, you grow your sport when you do that. Makes a lot of sense.
If you're wrong and Adesanya does come back and does fight Dricus, what do you see? What kind of outcome do you think will happen between those two?
If Adesanya decides to come back, I think Adesanya beats Dricus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Because I think the way that he fights, his style is more suited to Dracus' style. Because they both come from a kickboxing background, and Adesanya is one of the best at doing that, right? So I think if Adesanya does decide to come back, and now that he knows I don't have to deal with that shoulder rolling whatever that weird weight style that Strickland fights, yeah, I think he has a legitimate chance of like beating Drakus and beating Drakus quick.
They had quite the war of words months ago. Drakus has said he's the only real African out of the two of them. Um, do uh, do you think that those words really make Adesanya think, okay, this is my chance. I got to prove it. I got to show him. And maybe Drakus has been able to trash talk his way into getting Adesanya in the cage with him and showing maybe he is the best. Their war of words were pretty brutal for a few months there.
No, it was pretty brutal. It was it went to places that I didn't see coming. So possibly,
Yeah.
possibly. But at the same time, I still believe that he's still gonna take his time off.
Yeah.
Like I really do. Like he seemed pretty genuine about the fact that I think he was burnt out, so to speak, from fighting. And sometimes these guys just need to step away. You can only just be beaten up, take a beating, or give beatings for so long. Not everybody's built like Jim Miller, just has a lunch pail and just like, sweet, get to beat up somebody again in a couple months, all the time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Adesanya is going to take a pretty extended time off, so we'll see Drakus beat up on some of the other competitors coming for his belt, and I think maybe at the end of 2024, maybe not until 2025, we'll see those two finally throw down if Drakus can keep his belt. Okay, let's continue on to the rest of the card. As I mentioned off the top, Canada was well represented. Out of the 12 fights, there was 9 Canadians. And Arnold Allen is kind of a Canadian now. He's been training here for many years for us. It's a hobby, so didn't have to travel far to go to this event. The fighter that most people consider Canada's best chance at winning a belt is Mike Malott, and he really showcased himself well here in Vancouver, has been on a really big rise in his UFC career, and dominated the fight against Neil Magny in the first 2.5, 2 3/4 rounds, and looked like he was on his way to getting a big victory. And the veteran Neil Magny turned it around and got a victory, ground and pounded his way to get the stoppage. Duran Villel, the Canadian ref, jumped in and stopped it. I got to tell you, I threw my pen, I threw my book, I cursed and screamed. I was so angry. 15 more lousy seconds, and he wins that fight. And I just wish Villel would have just let him go. I didn't think he was taking severe damage. He wasn't able to block a lot of the shots, but he was gonna be able to survive 15 more seconds. But Neil Magny gets the stoppage and puts, as I said, the Canadians at 0-7. Tough. Good on Neil Magny, but tough for Canadian MMA fans and really tough for Mike Malott.
That's why this fight between him and Magny had to happen.
Yeah.
Because you're going to fight a guy that's never going to quit on himself. You either beat him or you put him away.
Right.
But if you don't put him all the way away, he has a chance to beat you. And that's exactly what happened. Like this was an ultimate test for Malott. If he passed this test, then he gets to fight top 10 guys. But you gotta pass a guy like this.
Yeah.
And he couldn't do it. And that's why, for me personally, yes, he probably could have survived an extra 15 seconds, but he didn't earn it.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, he didn't earn the right to be given those 15 seconds, because personally, he should have been in better shape so that he could withstand the last flurry from a guy like this, because it's coming.
Right.
It's coming. If you do not put him away, that's going to happen. That's exactly what happened. I give praise to Magny across the board, because he got beat up for pretty much all of that fight,
Yeah.
except for the last 2 minutes of said fight.
Brutal, yeah. Malott was going to be ranked if he lasts 15 more seconds. Had his opportunity, should have put him away, like you say. But the Haitian sensation just proved that all the wars that he's been through in his career, he's able to withstand it. And you gotta, yeah, he's like a zombie, put him away or he's going to just keep coming at you. It's amazing that Neil Magny has been able to put together this incredible career. There's nothing about Neil Magny that just, immediately jumps out as such a superior fighter, but 22 wins inside the cage. He's what is he now? The seventh most octagon time in the UFC history, approaching almost 7 hours now. And just been able to be that guy, and now he's kind of this gatekeeper guy that beats prospects that are the UFC sees this guy up and comer. Okay, we'll give him another chance, another test. And Magny has knocked him down many, many, many times over his career, and in the end, you got to be impressed with Neil Magny and what he's done.
No, yeah, definitely. Like it was impressive that he has yet another come from behind victory, which he has done before. And this is something that Mike Malott needs to learn from.
Yeah.
Which is this. You're gonna come across guys that are that tough, that you think you have the control, but if you don't have the gas tank to finish the job, they're gonna finish you.
Yeah. Malott looked really bad in the cage. They actually took him to the hospital immediately. I'm fingers crossed, nothing too severely wrong. He seemed to, just be very, very, very hurt and the end there. So, let's hope he can come back together, use this as a learning tool, and take that mantle again and say, I am the best Canadian. Take this setback in stride, learn from it, and continue on his MMA career.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully he can learn from it and take his time coming back. Like if he got pretty hurt at the end there. So, take your time off, come back strong, and learn from this fight.
Setback, yeah. Okay, let's talk about the middleweight fight between Canadian Marc-Andre the Power Bar Barriault and Chris Action Man Curtis. This is the Power Bar against the Action Man. It didn't deliver. It didn't deliver enough. These guys were supposed to be just going at it the whole entire 15 minutes if it lasted that long, and just a fight that we would remember. And both guys have always just been able to press that action and been able to be super exciting and wear out their opponents. And it seemed like something happened, disconnect. The power bar wasn't plugged in properly, and the Action Man just really wasn't himself. And I was a bit disappointed in how this one turned out.
I think both of them were afraid of what was coming back at the other. Yeah. And so they just kind of tiptoed around each other for the first 2 rounds. And I believe what was it, the midway through the 3rd round where they finally said, okay, let's throw down. All right. Where you're just like, oh man, I wish we would have seen this for the bulk of the fight instead of just like, this last 2.5 minutes of the fight. So that would have been cool. But at the end of the day, I thought Curtis was the right decision, another split decision win, because I felt that he was trying to be the aggressor throughout the fight. Barriault was trying to incorporate his movement, strategy, and his distance, but he wasn't being nearly as aggressive as I wanted him to be.
Right. Yeah. I heard that maybe Chris Curtis and Sean Strickland are next. That might be the fight that the UFC puts together. Both coming off the same card. We'll have the exact same amount of rest between the next fight. And that one could be great. And I was surprised. I've never seen both those guys fight the way they did. I really was surprised that both of them seemed to be hesitant to engage. until the end, and then it was Rock'em Sock'em Robots. And
Yeah.
I think we could have had 15 minutes of that. I just, really think that the UFC matchmakers did a great job. These guys just didn't deliver it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like you said, there was a disconnect there. There was times where Curtis was trying to provoke Barrio into fighting the fight that he wanted, but Barrio wouldn't take it. He's like, no, you're not going to provoke me. I'm going to stick to my said game plan. But game plan sucked. It wasn't very engaging for the fans. That's for damn sure. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the featherweight battle that kicked off the main card. These are two really high-level athletes. This was kind of talked about a title contender fight. Arnold Allen coming in, number 4 ranked against Movsar Evloev, number 9. I've heard that because of the incredible performance that Evloev put on against a very, very tough Arnold Allen, that he might be next in line to the Volkanovski Ilya Tupuria winner. So pretty amazing. Quite a performance. Movsar is 18-0 in his UFC career, but doesn't get a ton of credit because he only wins by decision. This was his 8th straight decision, and I think he is the first fighter in UFC history to start his UFC career with 8 straight wins, 8 straight decision victories. So maybe he doesn't get that shot yet, but what an amazing performance this was. Over Arnold Allen, who is one of the best in the world. And I was pretty blown away by Evloev's performance in this one.
Yeah, like it was a great fight, a very technical fight. And Evloev's grappling is it's obviously some of the best in the division.
Yeah.
And Allen had a rough time trying to contend with that throughout the course of this fight. That was the difference in the fight, by the way.
Yeah.
But because his grappling was on a different stratosphere compared to what Allen is used to contending with. And it was impressive, an impressive win.
There was some other talk that maybe Evloev fights the winner between Ortega and Yair Rodriguez, or Josh Emmett, who's in that mix too. We'll see how it all plays out. Volkanovski, if he loses to Topuria, probably they get a rematch right away because Volkanovski's long reign as the champion, the longest reign currently in the UFC. So probably he does get that rematch. So if Topuria wins, we could see Evloev fighting for a belt later on this year, or against some of those other fighters that I talked about.
Yeah, for sure. The fight with Topuria and Volkanovski is going to be a great fight. But Evloev, he's kind of like that dark horse, the wild card in there that you just throw in. And I don't know if he would. He probably would. I would say this: if Volkanovski wins against Topuria, I think then Volkanovski would fight Evloev because he's already fought all the other guys.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
so that makes sense. But if Topuria wins, then everything gets switched on its head. Topuria probably fights Volkanovski again because Volkanovski has earned that right, and then whatever happens after that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's talk. Let's turn to the prelims. We had Canadian Brad Superman Katona fight Garrett Armfield. Katona is the first fighter to ever win the Ultimate Fighter twice. This is a phenomenal fighter. Love this guy. Has all the skills and tools, but the matchmakers didn't do him any favors by putting Armfield in front of him. Armfield had, I believe it was a 7-inch reach advantage, and utilized that very well to keep Katona on the outside and be able to grind out a decision victory, 2 rounds to 1. And it was tough on Katona. Just didn't seem to be able to get in there until the end when he got a takedown, but he was down 2 rounds already by that 3rd round.
Yeah, Yeah, that's true. He was down 2 rounds by that point in time. He came on strong at that in the third round, but Armfield was able to keep it at the end of his strikes,
Yeah.
use his length to his advantage, and get the win.
Yeah.
But Katona, he really he acquitted himself well in this fight, but just not well enough. Like
Yeah.
it was a close fight. It was a close fight.
It was a close fight. Yeah. He got multiple takedowns in that third round, and he was able to get more control, increase his output. I think he figured him out. Unfortunately, those first 2 rounds were Armfield's. He outstruck him. He was more effective in the cage. He was able to keep him at distance. And yeah, unfortunately, Katona had won 5 in a row heading into this one and was really looking like quite the great bantamweight and a guy that was moving up the ranks, but takes a step back here a little too late when he finally figured out how to win the rounds. I wish he would have went for takedowns much sooner and really imposed his will that way on him from the first round on.
Yeah, like you might have been able to change the dynamics of the fight if he had done that, but maybe not, because I think also too that was somewhat strategic on his part, because he was waiting for Armfield to get tired as well,
Yeah.
so he could get those takedowns easier.
True. Yeah. Okay, speaking of height and reach advantage, with this one, the fight that was in the featherweight division right before this, Sean the Sniper Woodson against Charles Air Jourdain, a 9-inch reach advantage. A guy that's 6'3" fighting at featherweight is pretty tough. A brutal mismatch, and I'm really angry at the matchmakers with this one. This just does not seem fair that you put in a guy that has a 9-inch reach advantage and a super difficult guy. He's got a weird style. He's moving his arms. He's moving his legs. He's got the strangest looking body. And he just was able to just fool Charles Jourdain, who was not able to figure him out. And he also took the decision loss. Woodson gets the victory in this one. And I hate Woodson. He's tough to watch, but he utilizes his strengths well and gets the wins.
Yeah, like he's like a daddy long legs, and Jourdain was trying to navigate all of that minefield of trying to get within those limbs,
No.
and he really, at the end of the day, really couldn't figure it out. Like even when he went for the takedowns, trying to sweep that guy off his feet at 6'3" was pretty much damn near impossible.
Yeah.
Like what he should have been incorporating, which I thought what he should have done, which is go for trips.
Yeah.
But he tried to go for takedowns. That didn't work.
No.
That clearly didn't work. So Jourdain, he tried a ton of stuff, leg kicks, he tried a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Just didn't work. Just didn't work out for him.
Tried for that late guillotine as well and looked like he had it in there, but it was just a little bit too late. If he had maybe about 30 more seconds, he might have been able to secure it and might have got the win. Really tough, because I'm a big fan of Jourdain. I had a really good opportunity to talk to him quite a bit here in Vancouver when he was here. And I thought, yeah, he had a bit of a shot, but I saw, the reach advantage, that daddy long legs, like you say, and you thought, oh man. And this one had a really weird ending though, because Jourdain thought he was the winner. Everybody actually thought that Bruce Buffer said Charles Jourdain was the winner. Woodson started shaking his hand. Okay, way to go, you won. See you later. Jourdain's team all cheered. Jourdain was waiting to talk to DC, and it was strange because Buffer did nothing wrong, but the way he said the first word, the first name, everybody just thought it was Jourdain. The crowd cheered, and then they started booing when they realized DC was interviewing Woodson, and then all hell was breaking loose. That was one of the weirdest finishes and decision calls that I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, it was odd. It was odd because as I'm watching it, I don't know. I guess I heard him correctly, so I'm just like, what's going on? Like, honestly, I just
Yeah.
looking at the crowd. I'm like, did they not hear him correctly? Because like sometimes when you're there, the sound travels a lot differently than when you're
Very
at home.
hard to hear. Very
Yeah.
hard to hear. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then again, that was another split decision win.
Yeah. Um, the Surrey Cide was a split decision loss. Ramon Tavares. This was a rematch that happened in the Ultimate Fighter, or no, the Dana White Contender Series, and Cide had done a flash knockdown of Tavares. Immediately was called the winner. A lot of people said it was pretty controversial, way too early of a stoppage, so they decided to run it back now that they're both in the UFC. And now we have another controversial ending to this because Cide won this fight. He was the better fighter the entire fight. He pressed the action. He landed way more strikes. I don't know why they gave this fight to Tavares. Cide won this, and now they've had two straight controversial finishes, one victory each. I think they got to run it back again, but I think Cide got robbed in this one, and I was very disappointed to see the judges got it wrong.
Yeah, I the only thing I could say about Tavares, I thought his counters were strong. He had like a lot of powerful punches and counters, but I thought Cide was a dog,
Yeah,
and he was on him the entire time.
yeah,
Didn't back up, kept going forward. Definitely had bested him in the volume of strikes department for sure.
yeah.
So when it was announced that Tavares had won, for myself, I was like, how? Like, what did I see that you didn't see? Because
Yeah.
I had Cide winning as well. Like
Yeah.
I did not understand the outcome of that fight at all.
I've seen him fight locally here in Vancouver 3 times, and he was on a really big rise. Got his opportunity in the Contender Series, won that fight, got himself a contract. Yeah, I really like this guy. He's Ukrainian born, but raised here on the West Coast. Fought in the Battlefield Fight League here, and yeah, I was really thinking that this is a big up and comer that we've got to keep our eye on. I saw him fight a couple times. He fought here in 2021 with Battlefield, 2 times in 2023, and then he got his opportunity with the Contender Series, got his contract, and I hope this doesn't prove to be too much of a setback for him. To me, he won this fight, and if he continues to fight this way, he's probably going to win a lot more fights than he's going to lose.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. He just needs to stay the course and not take this loss to heart, because I don't believe he lost this fight.
Yeah. Okay, we finally get to talk here about a Canadian victory. Jillian Robertson beat Polyana Viana, was able to get the knockout victory and looked super impressive doing so. One of the best performances of Jillian Robertson's career, who is a great fighter. And I loved seeing the Savage get the victory. And she got 50K for it as well. Nice extra bonus, and great way to kick off the preliminary card with a nice victory by a Canadian girl.
Yeah, no, it was great victory. She obviously dominated the grappling aspect of this fight. So much so that it felt like a mismatch.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, it just felt like a mismatch. It's just like, oh, Vienna doesn't know what she's doing on the ground. Awesome, and great for Robertson, because she needed this win.
Yeah.
She needed an impressive win at that, and she got it. So good on her.
Yeah, her ground and pound was just crazy, and Vienna just kind of turtled, and
Yeah.
punches and elbows just kept coming down, and luckily Kevin McDonald stopped it. Stopped it then. Early prelims, we can just fly through these. Unfortunately, Johan, the White Lion Lioness, was beat by submission by Sam Patterson. pretty easily and handily. White Lion really didn't do much and didn't show much in this one. Took a early loss and has to go back to the drawing board here.
Yeah, he definitely has to go back to the drawing board on that one. Didn't look very good at all.
No. This was a easy, quick rear naked choke. Forced him to tap. 6th career win by Patterson by submission, and second rear naked choke win just a couple minutes in. And I think this was good for Patterson, finally fighting at his proper weight class and looked good doing so. Unfortunately, the Canadian took the loss here. Okay, Jasmine Jasdavicius, 50K. She probably gets. Does she get how much? I wonder how much every strike. I'd like to figure that out. 326 strikes landed in this one. How does the referee stop the Mike Malott fight, but doesn't stop this one? What the hell? 326 punches landed, an absolute massive beatdown, one of the biggest beatdowns that I've ever seen in any MMA fight. And Jasmine was the winner. As I said, 50K, and really thought she was going to start this off great to see these Canadians get these victories, and impressive performance by her. Not by many Canadians, but nice to see her get the very, very, very good win.
Great win by her. Definitely a miscalculation in the matchup department for these two, because she was severely outmatched. Now, do you think this fight should have been stopped earlier?
Oh,
like a lot earlier.
Oh yeah, big time.
Like,
oh yeah. Come on, this was a joke. Like, I don't know. I know the referee, Matthew Roca, and I respect him. I've actually seen him referee a lot of fights, and I really think he does a good job. He somehow dropped the ball on this one, and he definitely should have stopped this way, way, way sooner. This was honestly, Cachoeira is going to suffer for years to come over this beating. This was brutal. 326 strikes landed. A fighter shouldn't take that much abuse ever. She should have had the referee doing the right thing and stopping this fight much sooner.
Yeah, or Cachoeira's like a team, a corner, should have threw in the towel.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you're right. It was crazy, and it was zombie like, just wouldn't stop it. 10-7. I think it was 10-7 on every card. It was insane, and it was bizarre. I was pretty shocked and blown away how many punches were raining down and landing here. Cachoeira missed weight as well, pretty heavily, badly, and Jasdavicius said she wanted to make her pay for that, and did so in this one.
Did that.
Yeah, and the first fight of the night was Malcolm X Gordon against Jimmy Flick, and Flick gets the submission victory, beating the Canadian in this one. Jimmy the Brick Flick, impressive performance. And he retired about 3 years ago, came back, had lost his last 2 fights by knockout, had tons of adversity, but was able to get his career back on track a little bit with this really big submission win.
And apparently, after this fight was done, Malcolm Gordon retired.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he retired through, I think, Twitter or something like that, or Instagram, but yeah. He's retired.
I did see him taking his gloves off, and I thought maybe that was the case. So unfortunately, that's it for Malcolm Gordon. A career 14-8, and he'll be able to go back to Calgary, train a ton of up and coming fighters, and have a long career doing that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I'm sure he's getting be very instrumental in a lot of young fighters coming up in Canada.
Okay, that's it. Not the greatest card. I was really excited for this one after Vancouver, all the great Canadians, 9 Canadians. We go 2-7 on the night. Co-main event, super disappointed, but the main event had the result that I wanted, so it capped off my night, making me happy. We got a South African champion, Dricus du Plessis, and hopefully Sean Strickland doesn't have gold around his waist ever again, and we don't have to hear him take the mic very often and just embarrass himself and the UFC as a whole. And yeah, that was the Toronto UFC 297.
Yeah, man, it was wasn't as good as it could be, but at least the main event held up its end. I will be very interested to see if they do make the Strickland Chris Curtis fight, because they're actually friends, believe it or not.
Wow.
And Chris Curtis has already gone on record to say, yeah, no, that guy will attack me like in practice, so I'd rather get paid for it. So yes, no problem punching him in the face.
That's great. That's good. Yeah, let's hope they put that together. It'd be fun. It should be a fun fight. No UFC next Saturday. We're 2 weeks away. Next fight is Roman Dolidze, Nasruddin Imavov in a couple weeks. And yeah, we don't have a UFC numbered card until the Volkanovski Topuria fight that I talked about, UFC 298. Whitaker and Costa are the co-main event on that one. Jeff Neal, Ian Gary, Henry Cejudo fights against Merab Dvalishvili. It's going to be a great card, UFC 298, but we're ways away from that. It doesn't happen until February 17th.
Okay. All right. Well, looking forward to that. Looking forward to those. But more importantly, looking forward to seeing some NFL playoff football this upcoming Sunday. All right.
Sunday. Can't wait. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, man. I hope we get you into the fold and you're working with us very soon. I can't believe it's been so long, and let's hope that yeah, we're able to work together this week. I hope to see you tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Well, fingers crossed. Hopefully everything works out.
Yeah. I want to end Canucks were able to get the 2-0 win. Had an early 2-0 lead, and no other goals were scored. Thatcher Demko gets the shutout tonight. 31 saves of 31 shots, and Canucks continue to stay at the top of the NHL, and yeah, let's hope they can continue this run. And yeah, let's have a great week ahead. I heard it's supposed to rain all the way till Thursday, so make sure you get your rain gear out, your extra boots, and yeah, man, give me the good news. As soon as you hear that you're coming, just let me know right away. We'll celebrate.
Definitely. I will let you know. You'll be the first one to know.
All right, man. Awesome. Okay, have a good night. Cheers. Bye for now.
Cheers. Bye.
All right. Okay. That was another edition of Complete Sports Media's podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you to our partners and sponsors. Anchor.fm, the easiest place to make a podcast. Go to anchor.fm and do what Jason and I just did here. Verbero, the hockey equipment and apparel company, an industry leader in technology, performance, and value. The V350 is a must-have for any hockey player in your midst. Forever Living, the aloe vera company for health and beauty products, is you can really get some great products on our website. Go there and get some discounted rates for that. And Pampas and Possibilities, designers of West Coast, beautiful things for your home. Get them to come in, spruce up your house, make it look great. We really recommend them here at Complete Sports Media. So thanks so much for all your time. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your comments, questions, and love you. Have a great week ahead. We'll talk soon. Take care. Bye for now.